So our final speaker is Anne Olivarius, who's going to be speaking to us on the topic, All In for Her, Gender Lens Philanthropy and Gender Lens Investing. And our respondents will be Katrin Anna Gudmundsdottir and Hanna Eriksdottir. Dr. Olivarius is a lawyer in the UK and in the US. She holds a PhD in economics from Oxford, a JD from Yale Law School, an MBA from the Yale School of Management, and she was also a Rhodes Scholar, an underachiever, obviously. She was deeply involved in the landmark US civil rights case Alexander versus Yale, which for the first time found that sexual harassment within a university could be considered illegal sex discrimination in education. She's currently a senior partner at McAllister Olivarius, where she focuses on combating discrimination, including most recently cases that involve revenge porn and online harassment. Please welcome Dr. Olivarius.
Well, I'm at the end of the day. My topic is money, and for most people, that's a pretty boring topic, banking crises aside. Before I go into that, though, and I hope to do it in a way that is going to be fun, actually, and somewhat challenging, because I'm going to end with a call to action. But it would be wrong, I think, for this moment to pass without just stopping and making a really substantial celebration and applause for Catherine McKinnon, who spoke to us earlier today. She, more than anyone in this last 100 years, has changed the face of what it's like to be a woman and the possibilities what it's like to be a woman for all women in the world. I first had the absolute honor of having her instruct me at Yale University. I took 3 courses with her, and it's an understatement to say that my life course certainly was influenced, I think fundamentally affected by what she taught me, the inspiration and the fire that she set off inside of me and so many of her other students. This is a woman who is great beyond compare, and I think that she is the genius behind the legislation that we've been looking at and dealing with on revenge pornography and pornography in general. She has defined violence against women as sex discrimination so that we understand it in a way that perhaps means something to all of us. She's a leading person writing on consent right now in the world. Sex harassment law, that came out of her great mind. She designed the first case that I was privileged to work with her on, Alexander v. Yale, which Joanne has just mentioned. And even the Nordic model, in 1990, she started that essential conversation and pointed in the direction where we have gone. So I would like for just this one moment, because as women, we really, I don't think, applaud other women, not nearly enough. And I really think it's so important that we recognize what she has done, what she is doing. She has fabulous energy and dedication. She's helped all of us, and I'd like to say thank you. Kitty, please. Well, money will be boring in comparison. But I'm here to talk about money. It is a topic that women never seem to want to talk about, and it is the one thing that the women's movement has never had enough of. We are celebrating women's suffrage, but we are not equal. And why are we not equal? One important reason is because we don't control the money. We don't make enough of it. When women have money, they find their voices, they have power. They have a seat at almost any table. And it means sometimes that someone else stays home with the kids. Even in the glorious Nordic countries, we heard yesterday that there are still substantial pay gaps between what women earn and men earn. We heard that women earn 84% of what men earn for doing the same work. Money is still a big issue here. Discussions around women's philanthropy are still few and far between here. Only recently have women of wealth started giving to other women. Historically, women of wealth have funded their husbands' charities and their husbands' schools. Women have funded religious institutions where women don't have a voice. Women have funded organizations that actually discriminated against women. But they failed to give money in support of women's rights. High net worth women sat on the sidelines, their checkbooks closed, while lower income women and a few men funded the women's suffrage movement. This funding pattern has continued to 1972, where you had the creation of the Ms. Foundation for Women, which is the first foundation devoted exclusively to advancing women and girls. Since then, 4 decades have passed and the zeitgeist is changed. There are now hundreds of women's funds throughout the world. Until the emergence of women's funds, the closest one could come to supporting the advancement of women and girls was to support girls' education. But still, right now, where do we stand? Right now, as I speak, only 7% of the world's philanthropy is dedicated to advancing women and girls. And of that 7%, 3.5% is dedicated to curing breast cancer. Now, no one is going to dispute that money to try to cure breast cancer is vitally important. But that leaves us with only 3.5% of all the money that goes to philanthropy in the world dedicated, focused on women and girls. Never before in the entire history of the world have women of wealth come together with such significant gifts in support of women's causes as they are doing now. Every day, I come to work as a lawyer trying to correct wrongs that have been done. My goal is to make money while doing good. One of my first clients was a Somalian woman. She had arrived in England having been cut in her preteen years and then having her labia sewn together. She was 17. While visiting an uncle in England, her uncle raped her, which was not only searing emotionally, but also physically. She became pregnant and came to me knowing that she would be killed, I mean killed, by her family if she didn't terminate the pregnancy. There were legal access problems to an abortion for her on England's National Health Service, and she had no money to go private. But then it got more difficult because she had to find a doctor who would sew her up again before she could return to Somalia. She would be checked at the border, and if she wasn't intact, if she wasn't sewn, she would be killed. She needed our help as lawyers, and what she really needed was money. If she had a full checkbook, her problems would have diminished. Money would have solved a lot of this poor woman's problems. Since then, I find in my daily practice of law that money is the only currency that I can use to get women justice that is more than words. We worked hard last year to get a revenge pornography law put on the books in England. We were successful in getting revenge pornography to be a crime in Britain, and we are getting convictions, a good number of them under the law. But I note that this law is weak. It's not the law that we wished to get passed, but it was a first step. If we are really going to throttle this problem, we need to be able to go after the revenge porners for money. And Parliament, political party members, the press, those who control money are reluctant to give us that tool. In divorces, women's position is harder because they generally have little money. In child custody, women's lives are harder because they usually do not have jobs which allow them to raise children on their own, and they don't earn enough money. Why do women work as prostitutes? Now, surely, it's not the men, we know that. It's the money. We see women weekly who have top jobs who come into our offices, who make good money. In the lawsuits we bring for them, though, we see time and time again that they are not paid what their male colleagues are paid. Again, this is a money problem. Some weeks ago, I met with Dr. Holly Atkinson, who is a major player at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City. She is responsible for much of the education of students and interns who are training to be doctors there. She is interested in educating the next crop of doctors at Mount Sinai and how to operate to repair damage caused by FGM, female genital mutilation. She knows how to do these operations successfully, but she needs money to fund her work that can change the lives of hundreds of millions of women, to give them the capacity for sexual pleasure that was stolen from them. Money. Money is pivotal to our medical advancements and to our political successes. Women need it to change the world. In the days we worked for women's suffrage, women of wealth rarely funded the women's movement. Women of lesser means gave blood, sweat, tears. They petitioned. They were dragged to prison. They suffered hunger strikes. They were force-fed. Yet their courageous efforts were met with very little funding. Wealthy women were funding museums, but not the cause that underlies all that is important and vital to all of us. They were not funding women's rights or women's equality efforts. In the feminist social revolution of the 60s and the 70s and since, many women have broken the chains on their minds and on their bodies. But the chains that keep money from us remained firmly in place. Regarding women and money, we are still really at the starting line. There is no Catherine McKinnon in banking to give us leadership, but we are finding solutions. I want to present briefly 2 lines of thinking that have been emerging over the past 5 years and may be a significant force in bringing about robust social change in the money sector that have the possibility of changing the world positively for hundreds of millions of women. They are gender lens investing and gender lens philanthropy. I did a doctorate in economics at Oxford. If I were to be starting an economics doctorate now, I would do it in gender lens investing. It can be the future and could change the world for everyone's good, both for our men as well as for our women. Gender lens investing, which is the broader term, revolves around building bridges where people who know finance on the one hand and those who understand the gendered structures in the world on the other hand come together. Gender lens investing draws from the concept of impact investing, a term which was born in 2007, and refers to investments that are not only designed to produce high financial returns, but also to have positive social impact, such as investments in clean energy, clean drinking water. Until recently, gender has been only a marginal factor in the field. The thinking was that if the project helped women and girls, if they got clean drinking water, then this was good. But it has never been what the projects have all been about, an end product to benefit women and girls. That has not yet happened. So how does gender lens investment work? Investment decisions would be made to advance women and girls through investments in socially responsible businesses. In short, gender lens investment brings together those who believe market systems can be changed to create social, life-enhancing good for women and girls. And this brings me to the other topic, gender lens philanthropy. It is evident that while women were still lagging financially behind men worldwide, we are now wealthier than at any other time in history. This led to the birth of Women Moving Millions in 2007. It's an organization that kicked off in North America, but is increasing its membership all over the world. Each member has donated or pledged their resources, worth at least $1 million, to other organizations that advance women and girls. We do not ask for their money. We don't want your money. We ask for your commitment to the cause by donating to other organizations, as long as these organizations support women and girls. I became a member of Women Moving Millions a few years ago. When I was asked if I would be willing to join, I was genuinely caught by surprise. I had never considered myself a wealthy person. But I'd made a good career as a lawyer. I won a number of cases that involved large sums of money, and I had started giving some of my money away. But I had not thought strategically about what exactly I was trying to achieve or what maybe I could achieve. So yesterday, I apologize for my mispronunciation that I'm going to do terribly now. With all respect, Gudrun Schyman, forgive me, member of the Swedish Parliament and spokesperson of the Feminist Initiative, ended her words with a call to action. She said, "Organize, organize, organize." Others have echoed her sentiments in this room. Perhaps it is not enough to talk. Perhaps now we should leave with ideas for actions that would result in positive social change. I am culturally sensitive to the great differences between the Nordic countries, on the one hand, and North America, on the other hand, when it comes to charitable giving and money in general. Wealth is much more concentrated on the other side of the Atlantic, and taxation in the Nordic countries does the important work that charities so often do in the US and in Britain. Introducing an organization like Women Moving Millions may seem irrelevant in this context, but let me urge you to look into your own charitable giving, whether you're giving away your time or your money, large or small sums. Look into those donations and apply the gender lens, because applying the gender lens is one of the tools that we have to make the world a better place. Please consider asking yourself the question, are you putting your money to advance women and girls? Many of us will find that we tend to be reactive in our charitable giving. We give when we are asked without necessarily thinking too much about it. But let's say that all of us in this room decided to be strategic about our giving, to focus only on organizations that advance women and girls in Iceland, the Nordic countries, and globally. What could we achieve? Out of curiosity and with some help, I briefly estimated how much Icelandic women could donate annually if only working women gave 1%, which is not that ambitious, of their income after tax. That would be a total of 240 million Icelandic kroner, equal to roughly about 19 million US dollars. The number is derived from statistics of a book, Hagstofan, used the average salary after tax and number of working women in August 2014. It is a very rough estimation, and the number could easily rise, not least if men join the movement. But it serves as an indicator of how much we are able to accomplish. And I assume that there would be no lack of ideas about what you could do in Iceland with 240 million kroners to advance women and girls. In short, by being all in for her, which is a campaign that we're starting worldwide by Women Moving Millions, we are urging families and friends, businesses and governments to be all in for her. And we hope through this campaign to be able to significantly transform women's rights and opportunities locally and globally. Women in Iceland, Norway, Finland, Sweden, and ultimately everywhere could earn what the men earn, and then the world would change. So here's how it works. The first step is to give big. We're asking women around the world to define their capacity to give, to consider their limit, and then stretch beyond it a bit if you can. Make the biggest gift you can, and ask others to do the same. You're not doing this alone. Be bold. Being bold is about engaging the full range of your influence, knowledge, skills, and networks for the organizations and causes that you support, that you think will help others. Give more money by leveraging connections, offering your time, and putting your name behind your gift. Become visible, please. Apply a gender lens. To apply a gender lens is to more deeply examine how culturally entrenched gender norms affect women, girls, men, and boys differently, and for men and women to take these distinctions into account when identifying both problems and solutions. One size doesn't fit all when it comes to solving social and environmental issues. To be an effective philanthropist, employ this gender lens when giving. Be collaborative. When donors collaborate and give together, they tend to give at higher levels. They're also more strategic with their giving, become more engaged with their communities, and acquire more knowledge about the causes that they believe in. Women have long been at the forefront of this kind of philanthropy. Collaboration not only allows donors to pursue more ambitious agendas, but it drives efficiency, and it makes your kroners really count. Last, commit. The time is now. No time is better. Let's do it now. Let's see what we can do to really make a difference. We have to do something about our money. Let's put it together and do something really thoughtful, different. Now we have to change the world and change the money systems. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was incredibly inspiring.